Hello, friends and colleagues. My name is Kristina Roppelt. I'm CEO and founder of Agency for International Cooperation. And this year on the Island 1022, we're doing a workshop, a laboratory, which was originally called Science and Technology Parks Go Global. However, it turned out that the main concern of the majority of our visitors and attendees were the internationalization and globalization of universities in general. And today we have a beautiful chance to talk to one of our participants, the representative of Kazan Federal University, Leyla, and I think it's high time for her to introduce herself.
Hello, nice to meet you, Kristina. Thank you for inviting me to have an interview with you. I represent Kazan Federal University. I come from Kazan, from one of the biggest and oldest universities in Russia. We are known for the fact that Leo Tolstoy and Lenin studied in our university, and of course, many foreigners pay attention to these facts.
Sure.
As for my functions, as for my position, I'm focused on promoting university among prospective students, either local or foreign students. That's why I decided to choose your laboratory to talk about internalization, in general. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was actually my very first question. You're already very experienced in the international issues, and your university is known to be quite global anyways. It's very respected in the academic community. It's very well known in Russia, and it's quite well known abroad. So what was the primary idea that brought you to the lab? Like, what are the focal areas of internationalization in the university at the moment that made you choose the lab?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for this question, Kristina. Actually, indeed, among federal university, Kazan Federal University is like a leader of this process, because more than 7,000 students come from different countries, and we calculated it's about like 100 countries.
Wow.
Yeah, and we are proud of this fact, and we do our best to succeed in this area, and every year we polish our strategies and our projects, and nevertheless practice makes perfect.
Sure.
That's why we, the specialists of the Department of International Relations, and in general people who are involved in this process, we do our best to get as much information as possible, because we would like not only to announce our university as one of the best universities where the foreigners can feel comfortable,
sure,
but at the same time, give facts and be real, and of course we have to develop anytime. We cannot stay at one place, and as the other universities develop as well.
Right.
And we are in a competitive area.
Absolutely. And even though it seems that the majority of foreigners in Russia decide to go to Moscow for their international experience, it turned out to be absolutely not the correct fact. So as we realized, there has been a number of universities that have attended our lab that also developed their international strategy. And I have a question to you. Do you believe that the regional universities should really try to go global? Because many people believe that, well, while you are a small regional university, or even maybe not a small one, but still a regional university, better try to invest into your content, better try to invest into your internal development. Why would a local university from city N need to go global? Why would they need to go international? What's the point? What's your opinion about that?
I do think that any university is supposed to have this kind of high level. It's a kind of benchmark, right? And as our rector Ishad Gafurov says, the interest from the foreign students proves the quality, the quality of your educational program, the quality of your infrastructure. So it means that people pay money. So it means that they pay for our image as well.
Sure.
And that's why it's very important to. For the local universities, of course, there is a kind of stereotype that local universities are small, are not so developed, but it's not true. So it depends on the company, it depends on the team, right, that is inside. And I do believe that a lot of our universities, and I had a chance to see it here as well, that many universities are really developed, but the only thing that they cannot promote themselves, that they cannot say about themselves out loud. And that's the thing that we should learn. I mean, all Russian universities should learn this skill to be.
All the Russian people should learn that skill.
Absolutely,
in general,
absolutely, I agree with you.
Right? So it feels sometimes that in the majority of cases, people understand that the internationalization of a university is only about bringing international students. But as we have figured out during our lab, and as you very well know yourself for your own activities, it's far not only international students which make the university global. What kind of other areas are in the target of the internationalization strategy in your case, or maybe in the cases of the other universities that we have seen?
Of course, apart from the students, we should talk about academic reputation. And of course, the scientists are the key figures, key figures who build this reputation, of course, and that's why they build this reputation. They build this cooperation with other universities, and also our university is the place for very big conferences, international conferences, and every year we attract a lot of foreign academic staff. And of course, the program that most of the universities take part in is 5 top 100. Of course, also like challenges makes us stronger right, in the field of internalization as well. That's why we have certain KPIs about academic reputation, like whether the scientists from the other universities know us, if they know us in which field, whether they remember about us, right? Or they just because in our university we have a strategy not to build an agreement just for the sake of agreement. We build this agreement on the real fundamental things, and we really show this KPIs of these projects at the end of the year.
So it's mostly like attracting international students, attracting international academia, making international events altogether, joint research. Maybe there is some kind of extracurricular or supplementary educational programs that you engage foreign people in, or is there any other kind of environmental frame where you bring in international participants?
Actually, we do our best to create a certain atmosphere for the foreign students, as I have already mentioned, 7,000 students. And for the academic staff as well, for the professors, we have special campus where they can be located, so they are comfortable, but it's as for the environment, right? As for the infrastructure, as for the programs, of course, we have a lot of projects, for example, volunteers from the Russian student sides. If they speak English, they can, of course, join some events and create these events, of course. And I know it's not an easy task because students, for example, from China, when they come to Russia, they feel isolated. It's just an example, right? Because the cultures anyway are so different. But nevertheless, Kazan is the place which is more comfortable in comparison with the capital cities, right, to get adapted very quickly. That's why most Muslim countries also choose our region because of the policy of tolerance. A lot of religions coexist in our territory in a peaceful way. So that's why I would like also to mention that the teachers in terms of this internalization develop as well in the they practice their English, right? They also have, as I have mentioned, benchmark about the scientific research, and they interact with the colleagues, visit exhibitions. So this is a kind of mutual sharing of information, and it's not a secret. It's like a Commonwealth thing that newest research is done in English. That's why we explain to our students, to our teachers, that it's really important.
Necessary.
Right.
And can I ask you a quite I would say, tricky question. It might be even a dangerous question, but still I want to ask that because I want to make an honest dialogue and I want to cover the topics that, in my opinion, are of great concern. A lot of people do vote for globalization. They do support the processes. They see that it's extremely important to stay connected to the global community. However, there are certain tendencies when people tend to close up and then tend to say, this is such a big world. This is a madly big world. And I'm just a small person. And I don't want to learn these languages. I don't want to go abroad. I don't want to experience all these cultural shocks. I don't want foreign people to come to my country and they say, well, hold on a second. It seems too much of a violation of my private space. Do you have such kind of situations when you do need to once again re-explain to your staff members, to your students, that that's a process that you can't evade, that's a process you cannot escape, if you don't want to be an escapist, of course? And what are the difficulties or maybe fractions or any kind of maybe unpleasant moments that are happening when it comes to the globalization of the university environment?
Yeah, actually, we analyzed it during the course, during the laboratory, that not only positive sides, right, can be noticed, but we also have to think about some negative sides, consequences as well. And I think it's similar to IT technologies that are everywhere at the moment. And of course, some people can reject and some people can stay apart, but nevertheless, sooner or later, they will be, it will happen. The same with the process of globalization. So the more we stay at the same place, the more we become outdated. That's why, of course, we do explain to our teachers, to our students, but there is a kind of fear, like thought that the more we interact with the foreign, for example, universities, the bigger risk of losing our identity and losing our good students, like best students as well as teachers, right? And that's why it's like headhunting is possible.
Sure.
But it was like this fear was at the beginning, of course, and it was quite strong. And we thought about the limits, and we thought about the program that can be corrected, adjusted. But now it's like it's inevitable. So we understand that we are all on the same market.
It's amazing when people are in the same market. I believe it develops competitiveness that you have mentioned, and it helps us understand that even though we're all unique, there is something bigger that we belong to as well, and it's a proud feeling. I like developing this feeling when people come to my laboratories or workshops. And there's one more thing I want to ask, connected to the previous question. Apart from this fear or rejection that some people might feel, there is a certain thing that Russian, I would say, academic representatives sometimes are missing certain tools, sometimes are missing certain understandings and insights when it comes to starting this process of globalization or internationalization. Your university has been on this path for a really long time. But for somebody, it's just a beginning, an inevitable beginning, but it's a start. So what kind of things are your colleagues from other universities missing at the moment? What do you think they really need to develop before they start this internationalization process? What kind of tools they need to acquire before they go on this big journey?
Yeah, actually, it depends in which area they start these international projects. As for example, attracting students from the other countries, it's important to analyze from which countries they come, what is their market, right? And of course, to get into their minds and realize what mentality is inside, because it's really, really very important not to make mistakes at the beginning, because a word of mouth is really strong, and most of our students come because of their acquaintances, relatives who studied in our universities, and that's why the image is a very strong point, especially at the beginning. And of course, we just have to analyze the whole way of their coming, like from the very beginning till the like interaction is very important on the level of their admission, on the admission level when they come to the city. So all these services should be provided in a very good, on a very good level. That's why it's just systematic work from the beginning, like when they get acquainted with the students till the end when they come to the university and how they start to feel there. So I would recommend, of course, to learn the practices, to learn the of the universities that have a very good experience, and of course we are open to share this experience.
And apart from those lack of systemic work and maybe some fears that happen, do you feel that there are some other factors that prevent people from actually opening up the borders? Maybe that's a language barrier, or maybe that's a lack of intercultural understanding. What is the stop factor?
I think the language barrier is the strongest one.
Really?
Yeah, because as we are talking openly, for example, our city is a city which was a host for many international cultural, sports events, scientific events. So actually, we really invite a lot of foreigners, but at the same time, on the level of the citizens, the level of English is quite low. Yeah, and that's a sad. It is sad, and that's a kind of problem. And of course, when you cannot communicate on the level that you get used to, when you cannot explain, people become to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's why it's easy to set this barrier instead of developing yourself or understanding the problem of the opposite person, especially if he is from another country and behaves strangely and asks difficult, strange questions. I think the language barrier is like the strongest one.
I will see. Maybe not even the strange questions. I would say different questions. That's the thing. So it all seems strange when it's different.
Absolutely.
When in fact it's not
Absolutely.
strange. It's just a different culture, different set of understandings. Well, if we wrap it up slowly, and if we get to the future expectations or future events, let's call it this way, if you were to help design the next big educational intensive for the Russian universities, what kind of recommendations or maybe pieces of advice you would give to the organizers, to the content designers, so that they take into account the specificities of the Russian universities so as to help them become more international? This year in the island, we have a number of events in English, and we also have a number of international guests from Serbia and Kazakhstan, and a great number of international speakers. But when it comes to the design of the content program, educational program for universities, what would be your recommendations? What shall we insert?
I have mentioned the language itself. Of course, all the lectures, laboratory should be held in English. It's like the main thing. And the second is, I think that, of course, the course on the adaptation, like how foreign students will adapt in your university, in your city. The third is that how to create some short extracurricular programs that can invite foreign students for a shorter period of time, and just to make a decision whether this is your city, whether it is your university. It's very important, especially if we talk about individual right track in education. And so, for example, we can offer summer programs, cultural programs, language programs, where they can polish their Russian as well as to get culture being inside. And of course, I think that foundation year is one of the most important period of being at the beginning of their studies. And nowadays we are changing the strategy of our foundation course. We would like to insert new tools, and that's why maybe next year at the next island we will share our experience. And a year is ahead.
Oh yeah, I would love to then keep in touch with you regarding this, because what you're saying, it seems like a lot of Russian regional universities might need to have a full pack of services like that. So it's not just that everybody develops his or her individual strategy. That's clear. Like every university has their own strongest points and weak points that we need to take into account. But certain things such as onboarding program, design of short courses for foreign students, this is something that is required pretty much everywhere. So I think that we might consider this to take into account it and use it for the further on. So maybe there is something you want to say to our listeners and viewers, those who will be watching this video. So if there is something you want to say, I think that's a good time for your 45 seconds or so.
Actually, as they say, it's better to see once than to hear several times. That's why I do invite you to visit Kazan Federal Universities. We are open to share our experience and to show you all the environments that we try to create in a proper way, as for our students and for the foreign students as well as for the professors, teachers, and all our guests. So you're welcome to Kazan, to the Republic of Tatarstan, especially to Kazan Federal University. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leyla. And on my side, I would like to say that I think it's been a beautiful opportunity to see that it's not only the technology and science parks are interested in going global, finding their distribution channels, making sure their technology is up to date, making sure they are making the collaboration with international academia and with the international incubators or accelerators. I think it's been a good sign, and it's truly a very illustrative case when to the laboratory of technology parks, we see universities coming and making a demand for further global steps, for actually getting a support on internationalization. At this point, I would like to invite everyone who is not indifferent to the global future of the Russian education to take one of the first steps to go global, to see what kind of positive and negative sides you have at the moment, what kind of strong and weak points you have, what kind of partners you can find, mapping out these partners, finding your strategic plans to go further, to go global and international is a key first step. And for this, you might require different help, the help of the guests like we had today who have their own best practices, the international help of the people who have been developing their very beautiful strategies anywhere, starting from China up to New Zealand, and to the people who will be happy to supervise you on this way, like myself and my team. So very much welcome you to open up and see the world full of beautiful opportunities, never forgetting that your global future is always in your local hands. Thank you so much.